GE. News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
KBNU News Time is 4:03. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Bell Medical. Police found a body inside a missing woman's car that was submerged in an Idaho reservoir. 80-year-old Kay Prince Vest has been missing since early April when a silver alert was sent by West Bountiful Police Department. Deputies with the Oneida County Sheriff's Office in Idaho said they found Vest's car submerged in Weston Reservoir on Thursday. Once deputies got the car out of the reservoir, officials said they found a body inside. Based on items inside the car and the physical description of Vest, deputies concluded the deceased individual was Vest. Officials said there were no signs of foul play at this point in the investigation. Officials with the West Bountiful Police Department said their thoughts and heartfelt condolences are with the family and friends of Kay during this tragic time. Police said the investigation is ongoing as West Bountiful Police and Oneida County Sheriff's deputies work together. The silver alert sent out in April stated that Vest was last seen near Downey, Idaho, back on April 9th and was reported to be acting confused. She told someone she was trying to get home to West Bountiful without taking I-15. KBNU News Time is 4:04. KBNU weather for tonight, mostly clear. Overnight low in the low 40s, and then mostly sunny on Saturday, high temperature in the low 70s. Slight chance of showers late Saturday night, Sunday morning. Partly cloudy on Sunday, a bit cooler. High temperature in the upper 60s. Slight chance of showers Monday, high around 60 degrees. It's 73 right now at KBNU. For the best value of today's hearing aid technology, see Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
Wouldn't it be nice to lose a minimum of 2 to 5 inches of fat, just like that? At Bell Medical, with our uniquely patented FDA-cleared procedures, we are able to permanently remove that stubborn hormonal fat that almost seems impossible to get rid of. And we are able to do it in a way that is so precise. We can guarantee a minimum of 2 to 5 inches of fat loss after one visit with us.
Schedule your free consultation at our Bountiful Clinic at bellmedical.com and let us make your dreams a reality.
KBNU News Time is 4:05. Logan Mayor Holly Daines was traveling on Wednesday, so in her place for the monthly KBNU Speak to the Mayor program was Logan City Police Chief Jeff Simmons. He's been at the helm of the department for less than a year after replacing former Chief Gary Jensen, who retired last May. But Simmons is no stranger to local law enforcing, as he served as assistant police chief for about 3 years. Before that, he was the chief for North Park Police for about 6 to 8 months.
So that was certainly valuable training. Former Chief Gary Jensen, obviously, learned a lot from him and from other chiefs that we've had over the past. Sure. I've been doing this for 27 years. So, yeah, there's no really on-the-job training. When I was appointed the chief it's been almost a year now, last July 1st, yeah, you walk in and it's been like drinking from a fire hose. But the nice part is we have just this, and I mean this sincerely, a wonderful staff, and they have helped me out tremendously.
On May 5th, Santaquin Police Sergeant Bill Hooser was killed when targeted by a semi-truck driver in central Utah. Simmons said some officers from here attended the funeral and procession.
We sent 4 down to Sergeant Hooser's funeral down in Santaquin. I understand that there was a procession of 750 cars. Wow. That's what I was told at that. And then at the same time, I went and attended the viewing of Paul Lamont, who was the first chief of North Park Police Department up in Hyde Park. It kind of coincided with National Law Enforcement Week, but Sergeant Hooser's case especially was tragic.
Simmons came to law enforcement from a military background in the Air Force, and he didn't become a police officer until he was 29 years old. He talked about some of the dangers of the job.
You never know when something potentially dangerous is going to take place. When we go to domestic violence situations. We were just talking about that. Those are some of the most dangerous situations we can ever enter into. But then we read stories about officers who walk up on a simple traffic stop for a broken light or something, and suddenly they lose their lives over something so mundane, so normal. They probably wouldn't have had a ticket. They would have probably been just warned and moved on their way.
An example of that sudden danger was seen late that same afternoon that he was on the program after shots were fired at Denzel Stewart Nature Park on the Logan Island area. The suspect was killed and 2 officers suffered minor injuries. A nearly forgotten veteran of World War II will be laid to rest in Millville by his family on Saturday after surviving the Japanese invasion of the Philippines in the early days of that conflict and enduring the brutality of the subsequent Bataan Death March. Ballard King Yates passed away on July 29, 1942, as a prisoner of war on the island of Luzon. Yates was a technical sergeant in the U.S. Army Air Corps assigned to the 21st Pursuit Squadron of the 35th Pursuit Group when the war broke out on December 7, 1941. His remains were recently identified by an Armed Forces Pathology Unit and returned to Utah for burial. The Yates family will honor his life at White Pine Funeral Home tomorrow. Visitation will be held from 11 to 11:45 a.m. with a memorial service at noon. Internment with full military honors will follow at the the Millville City Cemetery, when Yates will be laid to rest beside his parents and other family members. He is survived by many nieces and nephews who are reportedly grateful for the privilege of honoring him. KBNU News Time is 4:09. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
Information and news you need. News Talk KVNU 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Fatigue, headaches, weight gain, hair loss, insomnia, anxiety, intestinal issues, joint pain. Do you suffer from consistent symptoms like these, and no matter how many doctors you see, things still don't improve? Whether you have a thyroid problem, an autoimmune issue, or chronic symptoms, we can help. We do complex medical testing and blood work to find the mechanisms driving your symptoms. And then we create a plan to improve each one while we teach you the tools to stay on top of your health. We've been helping patients just like you for almost 14 years now. We see patients from all over the world, and we have an office here in St. George, Logan, Salt Lake, Farmington, and Springville. You aren't crazy, you aren't lazy. It's not just because you're getting older, and these symptoms are not normal. No matter what symptoms you have, you shouldn't feel this way, and we can help. Don't accept Band-Aid answers.
Call Red River Health and Wellness at 855-55-RIVER.
Call Red River today.
It's true. Many of us spend more time thinking about what's for dinner than thinking about retirement. But if you think your retirement needs deserve more attention, Edward Jones agrees, and they can help. Together, they'll give your long-term retirement strategy the attention it deserves. Stop by your local Edward Jones office, one of 7 locations in Cache Valley. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
Hey Cache Valley, this is Tyson Savage at Truck Ranch in Logan. If you are looking for a quality pre-owned truck, I invite you in to see our amazing selection of trucks. Whether you are looking for a light-duty cruiser or a heavy-duty workhorse, we have several options to choose from. Our trucks go through a rigorous reconditioning process, and our one low price is posted in every truck. We offer on-site financing and pay top dollar for your trade-in. Come to Truck Ranch today in South Logan next to Walmart and see why we always have better service, better prices, better trucks, and be sure to visit us online at truckranch.com.
The Above and Beyond Salute.
Hello?
Tim Lindsay, we're calling to give you free lunch from Firehouse Subs.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, somebody nominated you for our Above and Beyond Salute and told us about how you've now been for over 20 years the wastewater operator there for Logan City, and you had to have seen some pretty weird things that people have flushed, haven't you?
I've got everything from drugs to money to all kinds of stuff.
The Above and Beyond Salute on News Talk KVNU. For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cache Republican Party. meeting an executive committee tonight
with Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. It is Friday. Just going to leave it there. The next 2 hours is just going to be me sighing. It's been
Out of relief?
It's been a week.
That it's Friday?
Yeah, some weeks better than others. It hasn't been a bad week, just a busy week, which is good, money. But I'm ready for this work week to be over. So, yep, For the People, welcome. I'm Jason. He's Bill. Sigh.
You're feeling just so worn out. We're just on no last names, just Jason and Bill.
Just Jason and Bill. Yeah, you know who we are, or you should. This is that reminds me, Bill. So Bill was near the Fox 13 studio in Salt Lake this week. He had to take his wife to the airport, and we stayed over. Joking about you going in for a tour, asking for a tour, yeah. and if they didn't offer you one, he just said, "Don't you know who I am? I'm Bill Walter from KVNU."
So that's nice, and now we're calling security. That's good for you.
That's right. And if they give you any trouble, Ben Winslow follows me on Twitter, so I can send him direct messages and say, "Hey, what are you doing?" Oh man. It's actually been a quiet day in Utah politics as well, which is nice. There aren't going to be many of these left between now and June 25th. In Utah, the elections usually play out in the Republican primaries for all intents and purposes. So in most races outside of Salt Lake County and, Weber County is kind of trending towards Salt Lake County, Davis County too a bit, but Weber County more so. But for now, outside of a few races in Weber and Davis and almost all the races in Salt Lake County, the winner of the Republican primary is likely also the winner of the general election. And so the general election races get a little sleepy, and I think a lot of people kind of start to tune out at that point because it's such a given, which is strange because if you're disappointed that that's a given, not tuning out is a good way to influence elections and change if you want change. But that's the way of things for the time being. And these Republican primaries are heated, to say the least. But I wanted to throw this out, and this isn't a particular endorsement or anti-endorsement of any particular candidate, mainly because I think that these are being done by a PAC. Well, I don't think, I know. These are being done by a PAC, not a specific campaign. But I got one of the calls myself earlier in the week, but I've heard from others, listeners have sent rough typed transcripts from memory in. One listener actually sent a recording from the voicemail in, and I've posted that, or I thought about posting that to our Facebook page, and then I thought, no, you know what? I don't want to give this any more attention, but this is being done not by any of the other candidates in the United States Senate race. I called and checked, and they said, nope, that's not us. And it's also, but it's being done by a PAC, and the candidates and campaigns don't have control over the PACs, and they're not even supposed to coordinate, though we all know they do a little bit, even if it's publicly. Sometimes there was a PAC and a campaign in Minnesota a little while ago caught communicating with each other on Twitter accounts. It was public, so it didn't look like they were communicating directly with each other, but nobody understood what they were talking about except for the PAC that the campaign was sending signals to. Hey, you should run an ad saying this. It was really blatant, and they, of course, got caught. But behind the scenes, I know there's a lot of communication because there are a lot of people who kind of flow in both circles. So it's pretty easy for campaigns to get word to PACs, that they don't like this or do like that, or, wouldn't it be great if someone ran an ad that said this right now because our internal polling says that's a hot issue. That kind of coordination happens. It's illegal, but it happens. These types of things, though, push polls I'm talking about, are generally frowned on by candidates and campaigns because I don't know why people do this. A push poll is something that sounds like a poll, but they don't really care about your answers. What they care about is that in the phrasing of their questions, they're planting an idea about the candidate they're trying to disparage in your head. So it would be a question like, would you be less likely to vote for X candidate's name, if you knew that he liked to kill puppies when no one was looking? It's not true. It doesn't even have to be true. It can be defended as, we were just asking a hypothetical question to gauge support for the candidates. But what they're trying to do is plant a negative seed about a certain candidate in your mind by just asking questions. That's what a push poll is. Unfortunately, they're not illegal. They should be. Why PACs do them is beyond me because they always backfire. Push polls are obvious, and no one likes to be insulted. And when you get a call like this, it's insulting. The only thought that goes through your head while you're listening to the push poll questions is, man, you think I'm stupid. And that's exactly the truth. They think you're stupid. And they're thinking that this will influence your vote. And unfortunately, there are a couple of them going around Cache Valley. I will say this again. I contacted, obviously the candidate being targeted is not involved. They wouldn't run a push poll to malign themselves, right? But I contacted friends that I have working with the other campaigns, people that have been involved in politics for a long time that I knew through other means, and I asked them if they could get confirmation for me, and all of the other Senate candidates' campaigns confirmed this push poll going around Cache Valley, and I assume other areas too, because these are statewide. The United States Senate race is a statewide race, but I've only heard from people in Cache Valley. But the other campaigns did confirm for me they are not involved with this push poll that's going around. So, all right, I'll just say it. It's targeted at John Curtis. It doesn't. The poll doesn't say, the push poll doesn't say anything inaccurate, but it's framed in such a way that they're basically trying to make John Curtis seem like an unreliable candidate that has a secret agenda. That's what their aim is, to plant that idea in your head. Now, obviously, if he's been in Congress for years, if he had a secret agenda, he's already doing it, and we would know about it, right? No, I mean, this is just, it's juvenile politics. It's usually being done by someone who's scared, someone who's not a front runner, and they know it. And if a campaign is coordinating with the PAC behind this, they should be ashamed of themselves. But again, I did talk to the other three major. I didn't reach out to Constitution Party and Independent American Party and all those. But the three major candidates in this United States Senate race, I reached out to them, and they confirmed what I assumed was the case, that they are not involved in this poll. No one seems to know who's doing it. Someone will find out. Robert Gerke at the Salt Lake Tribune is kind of a pro at digging into these things and eventually finding out which PAC was behind the push poll. We see this happen with mailers as well. These mailers will go out from PACs, not the campaigns again, and they are borderline lies about whatever candidate they're attacking. And the idea isn't that they're trying to specifically convince you to vote for the candidate that they're backing, even if because a lot of times they don't even mention that candidate. The goal is to malign the front runner or malign the person they see as their biggest opponent with some sort of half truth or barely true twisting of words. One of the worst that I've seen in Utah, this wasn't this go around, but several cycles ago, also in the United States Senate race, there was a mailer that went out that got instant attention and ended up backfiring on the candidate that it was meant to support, which is why if I was a candidate, I'd be so mad about PACs doing this, because it often does backfire and actually hurt the candidate that it's meant to be helping to support, because it's so obvious, because voters are so insulted by this type of thing that it can actually turn people against the candidate that the PAC is trying to boost up. So I don't know why they do it. But the worst I've seen as far as mailers go, a few years ago, there was one that went out that actually truncated a quote from an interview. Unfortunately, it was an interview that was very popular with Governor Herbert at the time. And everyone knew what he said in that interview because it was a big deal, what he said. The mailer cut his sentence in half to make his sentence seem like it was a completely different thing that Governor Herbert said, and implied that Governor Herbert was backing this candidate. It was a very dishonest mailer, and it backfired because at that time, still Governor Herbert came out, guns a-blazing, rhetorical guns a-blazing, and let him have it. He actually held a press conference and said, I absolutely do not back this candidate, nor did I say those words. What I said was this, and it ended up backfiring on that candidate. That candidate ended up coming in fourth, polling in second place at the time. They came in fourth place in that race. So, yeah, I don't know why campaigns or PACs do this. If campaigns are coordinating with PACs on this, they're not being smart. But again, I reached out to all of the Senate campaigns to ask, and they all confirmed for me they are not attached to this push-pull going around. So if you get it and you're offended, join the club. I was too. They're very insulting. It's literally like a PAC saying, hey, we think you're this easily fooled. You're a rube, and you'll fall for this. So we're running this push-pull. Politics can be very silly, but if that makes anybody feel better, because we've had a lot of listeners send in a notice about this saying they got it, they heard it. One listener actually tried their best to transcribe it from memory. Another listener later in the day, though, actually sent an audio copy that they were able to record it and sent the MP3 to me. It's understandably people are a little upset about it, but if it makes you feel any better, none of the campaigns are attached to this. This is some PAC. I don't know if it's a Utah PAC or a national PAC, but somebody isn't thinking it through. And I do, if you want some, if you're bored when you get these calls, one thing I recommend, have fun with them a little bit. Ask them some questions. Get to know them. Chat. Be very chatty. Take up some of their time. Rather than answering their questions. They'll get frustrated and hang up on you, and it's actually a pretty fulfilling thing to do when you get a push-pull. But and future candidates and campaigns and PAC runners, don't do push-pulls. No one's that gullible. We'll be back right after this.
Hi, I'm Frank Myler, candidate for Utah State Attorney General, and I approve this message. This is the first real chance I've had to talk directly to voters, because leading up to the state convention, I actually was finishing up a 12-day jury trial, filed a 10th Circuit Court of Appeals brief, and filed a brief in the U.S. Supreme Court fighting the feds in eastern Utah. I was more concerned about protecting the rights of citizens than playing politics. I'm prepared day one to help defend civil cases and to prosecute criminal cases, and I will be there to fight the feds and push back against their overreach. This is what I focused on as an attorney, and this is what an attorney general actually should be. Utah needs an AG with trusted experience, an AG who will make sure that the law is interpreted and enforced correctly. When you get your ballot, vote for Frank Myler. This ad is paid for by the Frank Myler for Attorney General campaign.
Join us each week for Music and the Spoken Word, featuring the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square, the longest-running continuous weekly network broadcast in the world. Each episode features modern and traditional arrangements of spiritual, classical, and contemporary music and a timely, inspiring message. Truly an uplifting program that will have you returning to each week. Music and the Spoken Word with the Tabernacle Choir.
Sunday mornings at 8 and again in the afternoons at 6 on News Talk KVNU.
Very fun story at CashValleyDaily.com by our own Eric Franson on Green Canyon High School. Having a pretty good time of it with Utah State University's annual Physics Day. This is held at Lagoon, and this happened last week. And Green Canyon High students took the top academic honors in a competition of 13 different high school teams that competed back on May 10th. This is something that is, I don't remember what year this is in, but it's been going on forever, and it's really a cool competition. And the whole thing, AP Physics teacher and USU alum himself, Mark Cowley, Green Canyon students Raul Balling, Charlie Kippen, and Cade Wilson took first place. And they did that. So basically the whole goal of this is to demonstrate a grasp and knowledge enough to apply certain physical concepts from the science of physics, things they've learned in the class, but putting it in play in the real world. And some of the competitions they do involve the actual rides at Lagoon, competitions involving, showing and calculating the speed or the friction. And that was one I remember when I got to actually talk to some of the students who were competing in this. They did some stuff with the friction of the rails against the car clamps, as they're called, that hang on to the rails of Colossus at Lagoon. They also, using Colossus again, so one of the things about Colossus is kind of a perfect example of a physics experiment waiting to happen, because it is an entirely gravity-driven coaster. That first hill that you go up and that corner you go around, that corner, so the height of the hill is not arbitrary. The corner itself, right after you come off of that hill, is also part of it. That has an acceleration effect as the weight of the coaster rounds that corner and dips down and pulls the rest of itself around. It has I don't remember how this works, but it has an acceleration effect. So without that corner, if it was just a straight up and a straight dip down, it wouldn't have enough speed to come all the way back around to stop to the loading point. So the engineering and the physical calculations, the math basically behind Colossus is exact to the inch. There is no piece of that rail track that is too long or too short or arbitrarily lengthed. It is there. Every part of that is part of a known physical property that will guarantee that coaster will be drug up that hill, sent down the hill, and coast back into the reloading zone every single time.
So it makes you wonder with these students down there at Lagoon. I wonder if some of them will be future consultants, perhaps, for thrill ride
designing thrill rides,
designers.
It's fascinating stuff, because if you think about it, now they have other gravity driven rides as well. Cannibal is a gravity driven ride, but so one thing that's interesting about Cannibal, though. The physics behind it is Cannibal actually has a deceleration point. So Cannibal picks up speed that is enough, more than enough to propel that cart full of people, which can vary in weight. They calculate the weight for the maximum possible, and so they calculate it for up to 350 pounds per seat. Now, obviously, that cart is never going to have 350 pounds in each seat, but they calculate for that just in case. But it also has to be able to manage the same speed if you've got 2 or 3 or 4 90-pound people in it. And so the calculations to do that are interesting, and the way they do that with Cannibal is they overcompensate. So it actually picks up too much speed. If it were to keep going on its own, it would eventually reach an unsafe speed where they couldn't guarantee that cart would hang on to those tracks every time for years. It would eventually wear down.
And I guess that's more motivation for me to avoid many of the thrill rides that are out there.
You've got to go on
kind of a chicken.
I tell everybody you got to go on Cannibal at least once. It's the most interesting experience. It feels so wrong the entire thing is your body telling you, I'm not supposed to be doing this stuff. But so with Cannibal, they actually have to slow it down. There's a point in Cannibal where you come up a little bit of a hill and then you enter a very flat track. And you don't feel it. It feels like you just kind of slow down because you hit a flat spot and then dip down another hill. What it's actually doing is, as you hit that flat track, the rails are a bit wider, so there's more friction, and it actually slows the car just enough that you don't reach unsafe speeds as you finish out the rest of the track before going back to the loading zone. Again, it's actually fascinating science, and they take these high school kids down every year. USU instructors and AP instructors at the high schools, they go down and compete. And Callie said, as a physics teacher, I think it's important to help students understand and see the growth they experience by being in these upper-level advanced placement classes. And he said something like the Physics Bowl is what they call this, is an opportunity to realize that they've learned a ton of material over the course of 1 year, and the competition gives students the confidence to see they are ready to take the next step. So the hope is they inspire those students, as you kind of alluded to, Bill, to pursue physics in higher education or in a career or both. And it's very cool too. But there were individual participants as well from Cache Valley that were recognized. Luke Latvakuk from Intech Collegiate Academy won the amusement park ride design contest. And some of his classmates from Intech, Allison Kilgarell and Amanda Rawson, also earned third place in physics demonstration design competitions. 35th year, right here at the end of the story. The 35th year of USU Physics Day. And there were 9,000 attendees from Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, Nevada, and Arizona for the competition. And, very cool stuff. So supported every year by USU Department of Physics, Idaho National Laboratory, and a lot of public and private sponsors, including the Lagoon Amusement Park folks themselves, and the state through STEM funding. Really cool to see this happen in its 35th year. And, again, really cool to see a Cache Valley school nab top honors. Green Canyon High School competitors emerged victorious at this year's Utah State University Physics Day at Lagoon, winning top honors out of 13 high school teams that competed on May 10th. Full story with some photos of the winners themselves and the instructors that helped make this happen on the Cache Valley, in the CacheValleyDaily.com story that I've linked to on our Facebook page. And we'll be back right after this. Look at the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:35. The news brought to you by Mount Logan Laundry. An Idaho judge says a typo in the triple murder indictment of Chad Daybell does not mean that he should be acquitted of one of the deaths. Daybell is accused of killing his wife and his new girlfriend's 2 children. 7th District Judge Stephen Boyce alerted attorneys Thursday afternoon that the date of 7-year-old J.J. Vallo's death was wrong in the indictment. The revelation sparked a flurry of arguments over whether Daybell should be acquitted of that charge. The judge ultimately said the charge would stand. Boyce said it was an inadvertent error and that the jury could be instructed on how to handle the discrepancy. Kansas Governor Laura Kelly has vetoed a measure that could have earmarked up to $5 million for certain gun detection software in schools. Kelly's line-item veto Wednesday leaves the money in place for general school safety efforts, but deletes wording that would have said very specific criteria to use. The only company that would have currently qualified is Zero Eyes, which has lobbied lawmakers in various states to adopt its artificial intelligence technology. Kelly said the provision amounted to a no-bid contract and would have limited schools from spending grant funds on other safety measures, such as communication systems and security staff. Zero Eyes has promoted its technology in other states. Firearm detection laws enacted last year in Utah and Michigan also required software to be designated as an anti-terrorism technology under a 2002 federal law that provides liability protections for companies. KBNU News Time is 4:37.
Make laundry a snap with the large load washers and dryers at Mount Logan Laundry. Rather than 8 to 10 loads at home, get the job done in 1 or 2 with their 55 or 80-pound washers and 80-pound dryers that are perfect for sleeping bags, comforters, and other big items. Mount Logan Laundry has free Wi-Fi and drop-off service, plus they're open until midnight. Mount Logan Laundry really is the cleanest spot in town. Find them at 5th East and 9th North in Logan or in Brigham City on the corner of 1st East and 7th South.
ABC News, I'm Mike Dubusky. Controversy at the nation's highest court after a New York Times article triggers anger over potential impartiality. The paper has published a photo of an upside-down American flag seen outside of conservative Justice Samuel Alito's home in Alexandria, Virginia. While the 4-year-old incident is drawing attention now, it seemed off to Alito's neighbor, Aya Carlson's, immediately.
In my mind, I just said, there's something wrong with the flag. But I didn't. I was busy.
An upside-down flag has been used as a symbol by some supporters of former President Trump who falsely believe he won the 2020 election. Workers at 2 Mercedes-Benz factories near Tuscaloosa, Alabama, voted overwhelmingly against joining the United Auto Workers on Friday, a setback in the union's drive to organize plants in the historically non-union South. 56% of workers voted against the union. This is ABC News.
KBNU weather for tonight, mostly clear skies. Overnight low down into the low 40s, around 41. Sunny, not as warm. High around 72. Slight chance of showers overnight, Saturday night, Sunday morning, and then partly sunny skies during the day Sunday. High temperature in the upper 60s. It's been to 76 today. It's 72 right now at KBNU. Roof Rescue is dedicated to keeping your home safe and dry from minor repairs to complete roof replacement, celebrating 10 years of providing watertight peace of mind. Call 435-999-4268 or see roofrescueusa.com. You can always get more news at cashvalleydaily.com. And now let's get a business update brought to you by Edward Jones.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. The Dow setting a new record, closing above 40,000 points as Wall Street closes out a 5th straight winning week. The S&P was basically flat, up 6. The Nasdaq lost 12 points. On the losing end was GameStop, losing more than 20% after saying it expects to report a loss of $27 to $37 million for the 3 months ending May 4th. It could also sell up to 45 million shares in order to raise cash. On the winning end, Reddit, which jumped almost 13% after announcing a partnership with OpenAI, bringing the social media company's content to ChatGPT. Frontier Airlines says it'll stop charging customers a fee to change their flights. It comes as the Biden administration cracks down on those so-called junk fees. A blow to the UAW, workers at 2 Mercedes-Benz factories near Tuscaloosa, Alabama, voting against joining the United Auto Workers. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
As a math teacher for 37 years, I always taught by using real-life examples. I'm retired now, but I still like using examples, like my decision to live at Legacy House of Logan. They offer beautiful 1 and 2 bedroom studios, add a range of fun activities, plus new friends and home-cooked meals. Then subtract the hassle of keeping after my old house and yard. And it all adds up to a fulfilling life that's perfect for me. Legacy House of Logan on 1400 North and online at legacylogan.com.
Water getting inside your home? Driveway cracking? Your deck need cleaning or sealing? Hey, Gary Sullivan here from At Home with Gary Sullivan. I can help you with those home improvement projects each weekend right here. In fact, we'll take your calls about your home issues and give you solutions. We'll tell you how to fix it, what to use, and where to get it. We'll also have expert guests to help you with your projects. Hope you can join us this weekend right here on At Home with Gary Sullivan.
Saturday nights at 7 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Bill, I'm going to send you a link really quick. This was just posted minutes ago by the state auditor.
Another.
Yeah, this is
kind of funny.
This is his third. For listeners who aren't familiar here, okay, here comes the link, Bill, and it's Twitter, so you'll have to unmute it, of course. Twitter launches. I don't know if anybody has the same complaint. I'm sure no one does but me. But Twitter always launches muted, and it drives me bonkers. I don't know why. All right, there's the link. For those who aren't familiar, State Auditor John Dougal is also a candidate for Congress. He joined us on the show to talk about this. And since he's made two more, we had him on the show when he had the first video up. He's made two more since. What he's doing basically is trying to prove a point, and it's an important point. He's a short version. He's trying to prove a point about the legislature wasting everybody's time with these bills that they spend the first 2 weeks of the session on lately. Culture war bills, basically. Bills that really maybe don't have a tie to Utah even sometimes, but it's a hot button issue nationally, and lawmakers can't help themselves. But the problem is this one backfired big time on the state auditor, tasking him with managing and reviewing complaints to the anti-trans bathroom bill. Is basically what it is. It tasks the state auditor with creating a website where people can submit complaints if they think they see a transgender person in their bathroom. Those can include photo uploads and video, which is illegal in Utah to do. That's considered voyeurism. The state auditor has pointed that out in our interview last week. But he also has mentioned that this is taking up a lot of his staff's time. And so he's making these videos to be funny, but he's also trying to prove a point about the state, specifically Representative Kira Burke and Senator Dan McKay, the sponsors of this bill, making him the bathroom monitor. And as he pointed out in our interview last week, it was not something he was consulted on at all. He was asked nothing about this by the state legislature. And yet his office, he said, has been spending a lot of time fielding what at this point is almost 15,000 bogus complaints. We played some of the audio from them before we interviewed him the other day. One of them was, my favorite, was this guy, obviously being a smart aleck. He said, "Help, there's a person with long hair in my bathroom." Click. That was it. That was the whole message. Another one, a more seriously written one, an individual said, I'm a transgender person. I plan to travel to your state soon. I have a vacation scheduled there in Utah this summer to see the Red Rocks and things like that. But I plan to use the bathroom of my gender that I live right now. And so should I turn myself in at the end of my vacation or at the time of violation of the law? And the state auditor released that saying, look, this shows kind of what are we? He asked a question during our interview. He said, "What are we doing here in Utah? How is this conservative or limited government?" Anyway, here's his latest video posted just minutes ago.
Welcome. I'm John Dougal, Utah State Auditor, and I'll be your personal bathroom monitor today. Now, this inspection will be a little more invasive than those pointless TSA screenings. Are you ready? Drop them. Whoa! No. Not your pants. Papers, please. The legislature wants me to see your compliance plan. You didn't think I wanted to... Oh, don't make this weird. Just remember your plan next time. Now, I know you had your choice of restrooms today. First floor, second floor, third floor. I want to thank you for choosing this restroom. Now, please enjoy your visit, and don't forget to flush.
State Auditor John Dougal again. Funny guy. He's having a good time with this. But he, as he said in his interview with us, he's angry about this, actually. He's angry because he feels like his staff, this isn't what they hired on to do. They hired on, he said, when we spoke with him the other day, he said, my office is full of CPAs, data analysts, that they got hired and applied for the job because that's what they thought they'd be doing. And now the legislature has turned us into the bathroom monitors of the state because we're spending at least a third, he said, on Tuesday, possibly more by the end of the week, on these complaints, because this has become kind of a national thing. People all across the country are having the best time with this website Utah has set up. And they should have seen it coming. But his complaint primarily, he says, I'm not talking about whether you agree or disagree with what this bill is trying to do. He said, in fact, I'll say this. If you agree with what this bill is trying to do, it's having the opposite effect. Because he said, I've talked to parents who have had to sit down and explain transgenderism to their children because this bill has led to people talking to their kids, saying, you watch who's in your bathroom and you report it if it's this and this. So he said we're kind of having the opposite effect with this bill, and for what ROI? He's angry, to say the least. He's also not running for re-election, which frees elected officials up a bit to be more blunt and honest. He is running for Congress, though, in House District 3. We won't get to vote on that one, and we didn't really talk to him about it when he was with us earlier this week because of that. But it's a risky move. It could make him very unpopular or very popular, but I have to give it to him. He's taking the legislature for task over what he says isn't disagreement with the bill or with the intent of the bill, but rather the process behind the bill. He said this was rushed, my office was never consulted, and all around the system is poorly designed, and we're seeing that blow up in our faces now, as my office predicted, but no one would listen. So yeah, state auditor a little perturbed still, and that's his latest video released at about 4:30 today. He is on Twitter where he's doing this. He's Frugal Dougal on Twitter. That's been his nickname since he back in the legislature 8-9 years ago. He's been around quite a while. But John Dougal, state auditor, again, taking the legislature to task. And the only response so far has been one of the sponsors, the House sponsor, Representative Kira Birkeland from Morgan. She got herself in hot water trying to respond, but in a response, she basically accused the state auditor of not caring about young women and children. Now, obviously, everyone in the legislature knows the state auditor. The governor knows the state auditor. The candidates in all the races know the state auditor. This is a person who's been around for a long time. That didn't go well to have Kira Birkeland accuse him of that. She was quickly told by even House leadership that was inappropriate. Since then, both Kira Birkeland and Dan McKay, Senate sponsor of the bill, have pretty much been trying to hide this one out. But we'll see. There is a special session coming up. The governor announced it yesterday in his monthly news conference that they'd be having a special session to fix their Save the Coal Plant bill. I don't remember its actual title. This was a bill to force power companies to not yet, or to delay the retirement of Utah's last coal-fired power plant. That bill is causing some problems, and they're going to have to fix it. So there will be a special session coming up probably next month or in July. And due to that, there's a possibility that this bill, this transgender bathroom bill, gets added to that and tweaked a bit, with the state auditor making so much noise about its poor design. But we'll see. Until then, I think we can expect at least weekly, pretty funny videos from the state auditor continuing to make his point that, hey, next time, if you're going to give the state auditor new responsibilities, why don't you talk to the state auditor about that first? It seems like a basic thing to do. I'm surprised the sponsors of the bill didn't. He is, too, the state auditor, as he told us here on the show earlier this week. Check it out. I've linked to the video on our Facebook page, and I'm sure he's got more planned. This is a guy that is obviously having a good time with this one while making an important point, and we'll keep you posted if he gets more creative. I'm sure he will. We'll be back right after this.
This is Dr. Red, chiropractic physician with Red River Health and Wellness. Are you suffering with fatigue, brain fog, headaches, intestinal issues, weight gain, and you haven't been able to find any answers?
Before I started at Red River, I was having a lot of stomach pain. I was overweight, severe anxiety, some depression. I had been to multiple doctors. I'd been to specialists. We had done tests, and no one could find anything that was wrong.
Red River Health and Wellness can help you.
I'm on anxiety medicine. I've lowered my dose, and I'm working with my doctor to continue to lower it. I'm sleeping through the night. I have energy for my kids. I've lost 30 pounds. I just feel really good.
Our goal is to teach you and educate you so you know how to manage your condition a lot more effectively, and you know what to do and what not to do for the rest of your life.
Schedule your appointment today at 855-55-RIVER. Red River Health and Wellness with offices in Logan, South Jordan, Springville, and St. George.
Call Red River today.
Guess which energy source is truly the cleanest for the environment, is affordable, abundant, and is ready right now to do what all the other clean energy sources hope to do someday? It's propane. Yes, propane. To learn more about what propane can do for you, check out the State of Energy right here, Saturday mornings at 6:30. Also, the propane industry is set to grow by $50 billion over the next 5 years. Go to findapropanejob.com.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Has anybody been following this? I've been following it loosely. But the bird flu outbreak in milk, it's stirred up an age-old debate about raw milk versus pasteurized milk and things like that. It's H1N1 influenza. Symptoms are, basically the basics: cough, decreased appetite, fever, rigors, myalgia, headache, lower respiratory tract disease, usually in older people or people who have other medical issues. It can be very serious, and it comes in various strains, but H1N1, I said bird flu, swine flu, is an influenza type A, which means this is usually more dangerous for adults. But the debate that has popped up around raw milk versus pasteurized milk, because pasteurized milk, of course, safe to drink. You don't have to worry about what you're getting from the grocery store. But the concern over raw milk at this point has led even some at the Utah Department of Ag to wonder if maybe some temporary action needs to be taken. Temporary action might look like, it was blocking the sale for a time, making it, all they can really do is say, for the time being, for health reasons, it is illegal to sell raw milk in Utah until this outbreak clears up. They don't think that it's gone that far. This is obviously more difficult to track, but it is. There is some concern about the spread of this H1N1 swine flu and bird flu, as I said, the avian influenza. It spreads to. So this is kind of interesting. It's no surprise that it spreads to cattle. We've known that forever, but it's never done so in numbers that have shown up like this. And so that's the big question, is everybody's wondering why that's happening. Was this just a particularly bad outbreak, or was it similar to the swine flu, something that just kind of is a known that we're getting better at tracking? That's a question that remains answered. But they are officially calling this an outbreak, and it has wreaked havoc around parts of the world before it surfaced here in U.S. dairy cows. And this is a viral subtype, is what they call it, meaning it's a variation on previous versions, but very similar to the traditional H5N1. So H1N1 is swine flu. H5N1 is this particular strain of bird flu. And it's most dangerous for poultry and wild birds. It's tally so far, it's killed millions hundreds of millions of poultry and wild birds over the years. But cattle infections are spoiling milk in a way that is not typical. The number of cattle infections, basically. And so this is causing limited disease in mostly older dairy cows. So that's the first thing that stops this from being a panic moment. But, of course, that could still be very detrimental to dairies and especially smaller to mid-sized dairies and family farms with dairy cows. They also, a lot of these same farms have also had problem with dead birds and dead poultry at the same time. So that's possible and likely explanation for the source on this. Public health officials have stressed that the risk to humans is extremely low. They don't want any panic over this. So again, this is the debate is focused on what exactly to do to stop to keep it the case that the risk to humans is very low, but that's primarily low because of the pasteurization process that's used on milk from dairies. So raw milk has a much higher risk, although, as I understand it, that risk is not guaranteed either. If milk from a cow with the bird flu or swine flu is not guaranteed to have active pathogens enough to pass it on to a human through consumption, but it is a much more elevated risk than with pasteurized milk, where the risk is zero. This is, again, the concern around this is primarily focused on the effect this might have on dairies, especially mid-size and small dairies around the American West. Epidemiologist Gregory Gray at the University of Texas said that the detection of cows across multiple states, starting way back in March, but continuing today here mid-May, is worrisome. He said it's a development that's worrisome because it may signal the bird flu strain is spreading directly from cow to cow now without the birds. And at this point, there is not a guaranteed way to stop this, vaccination or other things. So, again, don't panic about your milk. The risk to the milk, if it's pasteurized, bought from the grocery store, low to zero. Higher risk with raw milk. You are taking a bit of a risk there. But the concern is more the effect it could have on the dairies if it's spreading cow to cow now without the birds' help. We'll keep you posted.